Hello programmers, today we're going to talk about a random forest. Our last video was on decision trees, which you need to understand before you can understand random forests. We were coming up with a decision tree to help us decide should we play tennis or not. And our decision tree was created based on just a limited number of records of past historical data of did we play tennis or not. One of the disadvantages of decision trees is they tend to overfit. A single decision tree often memorizes the training data, and small changes in your data set results in a completely different tree. Let's imagine you're in a classroom of students. If I ask one student to guess the answer to a question, they might get it right and they might get it wrong. If I ask a class of 50 students to guess the answer, then the majority is more often correct. Code-wise, switching from a decision tree to a random forest is pretty easy. Instead of using a decision tree classifier, we're going to use a random forest classifier. And we get to decide how many trees we want to use when we're making our prediction. And remember the majority rules. So if 99 of the trees say yes, play tennis, and one tree says no, you'll go with the 99 and play tennis in your prediction. We're still using entropy like we did with decision trees, seeding the random number generator, and we don't want trees that are too deep, so we've got a limited number of features. A depth of 3 should be fine here. So you might be wondering, we only had 14 records, and using our formula to make decision trees, there was only one decision tree that we could make out of that. So how can we come up with a whole forest worth of decision trees? Well, there are two main ways to do that. One of the techniques we're going to use to turn this one data set into many different data sets that we can go ahead and build trees for is bootstrapping. And that's the technique of creating multiple data sets by randomly choosing rows from this data set. Another could be made with a different subset of these rows. I could have a tree with all of the rows. And then bagging is going ahead and using that bootstrap data set that's taking, could even be one row that's used more than once in the data set, taking that new data set, go ahead and train a separate model, make a decision tree on that, and then make a decision. That way, if you have one outlier, it's not influencing every single decision tree because that record might not be selected for some of your decision trees. Another technique we can use is random feature selection. So instead of using all the features, the outlook, the temperature, the humidity, and the wind, we're going to pick a subset of those. So one of our trees may use outlook, temperature, and humidity. Another one may use temperature, humidity, and wind. Another one, wind, temperature, outlook, etc. And in fact, in our decision tree that we came up with, we ended up finding out that only 3 of those features really helped us. But we're going to randomly select which of these features to take into account and go ahead and make our new trees. We used all the data and took into account all the features and entropy. We came up with this tree, but when we're picking a different subset of the records and a different subset of the features, we may come up with a different tree that looks something like this. It may take into account humidity first. We may find another tree that, like, because of what records we picked and what features we're looking at, the wind is the most important. So we can have 100 trees that all look different and then take the majority decision. And in the code, we can even display from this random forest classifier what features were the most important out of all the 100 random different trees that we created. What ended up being the most important features? So I made a little graph of that. And to make all the different trees in the random forest, we used the bootstrapping and then bagging, and we chose random sampling. And so it still ended up that the outlook forecast was the most important feature in our trees, and coming up with our decision reduces impurity and gives us better decisions that help us split on the yes or no. We've got the humidity, that's if it's high humidity, that's the next important feature, etc. And we can look at all of those. But this is all made up data of should I play tennis or not. Let's apply the random forest to a real problem. Let's go back to that breast cancer data set. sklearn.datasets has the breast cancer data set from Wisconsin. We can load the data set, and we've got the data and then the target, benign or malignant. We can go ahead and split our data set 80-20 for our training and testing, and then we can make predictions on that data that our model hasn't seen yet and see how accurate our predictions were. And if we run this, we take a look at, with the random forest classifier, we end up getting an accuracy of 96.5%. And that actually ends up being slightly better than with just a single decision tree. I'm going to switch from the random forest to a single decision tree. And the single decision tree gave us an accuracy of 91%. So the random forest was much better, which is often what you're going to find. We could go ahead and add some code to say, well, from that random forest, which features from the breast cancer data helped us make the best trees? And when we graph the random forest feature importance, we get something like this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy programming!